In the opening scene, our protagonist talks about trash games, pointing out that they are often unfun, lack balance between characters, or suffer from poor mechanics. However, there is another instance of trash games, those with hellish difficulty levels. The virtual reality game The Tower of Trials is a prime example of this. When the game was released, Korean gamers, whose passion was conquering games faster than the developers anticipated, began grinding through the Tower of Trials, often forgoing sleep and food for an entire year. However, by the end of 3 years, players came to the sobering realization that the game was impossible to complete. No exaggeration here. For instance, the gate guardian who protects the 10th floor is truly invincible. Additionally, the 7th floor is set in a polar region with temperatures plunging to minus 60 degrees, which drains players' HP and can freeze them to death within an hour. On the 8th floor, players are confronted with a labyrinth covering over 10,000 square kilometers. This experience is not enjoyable, it's simply a form of torture. As a result, the game nearly crashed and was almost ruined. Despite that, only a few pro gamers dared to take on the hell difficulty. Jinhyuk Kang was one of them, grinding through every challenge until he reached the very end. After devoting 11 years of his life, our protagonist finally completes the game. A system message popped up. You have conquered the 50th floor. Congratulations, you are the first person to clear the Tower of Trials. Jinhyuk let out a deep sigh of relief, overwhelmed with a whirlwind of emotions. For him, it was simply a thrilling experience. Reflecting on the countless hours spent researching unknown strategies to conquer the tower and repeating them over and over until they became second nature, a deep sense of pride washed over Jinhyuk. He had done something truly difficult and worthwhile. He still couldn't believe he had actually cleared the game. Once his thoughts settled, Jinhyuk realized he should have streamed this moment online or perhaps uploaded his accomplishment to YouTube. A system window popped up, thanking the player for sticking with the game until the very end. Another window appeared, informing the player, "A reboot update is scheduled in 12 hours. Please continue to enjoy the game after the update." The news caught Jinhyuk off guard. He couldn't believe the game was getting an update, especially after all the financial losses it had suffered. Did the administrators strike oil in the middle of a desert or something? He wondered sarcastically. After logging out of the game, the protagonist reflected on his situation. He realized it was time to quit his career as a gamer and live streamer. When he had started, he was just 17, full of ambition. But now, at 27, he could no longer survive on the meager income he earned from gaming and streaming.
That night, Jinhyuk was doing a mukbang livestream, laughing and chatting with his viewers. Everything was going smoothly until his expression suddenly grew serious. He addressed his audience, saying he had something important to announce. But as the comments started flooding in, he hesitated, stopping mid-sentence. With a casual shrug, he brushed off the topic and continued the stream. In the back of his mind, he decided he'd make the announcement tomorrow. About quitting for good. After finishing the live stream, the protagonist decided to get some good sleep. The next morning, he woke up with a headache and remembered his plan to upload the video of him clearing the 50th floor of Tower of Trials. However, when he checked the news, he was shocked to see the headline, "The Tower of Trials becomes reality." Jinhyuk couldn't believe his eyes. How is this even possible? He thought in disbelief. Desperate for answers, he opened the live chat of the broadcast. On the screen, a massive tower loomed over the heart of Seoul, its shadow stretching across the city. It was unmistakably the Tower of Trials, now towering over reality. The YouTuber reported that Melon Watermelon, the top global organizations, had officially confirmed that the mysterious structure was indeed the Tower of Trials. As he spoke, he suddenly paused and looked up, as if sensing something ominous. At that moment, the screen began to turn red, casting an eerie glow over the broadcast. The tension in the air was palpable. Something was happening. Jinhyuk couldn't believe what he was witnessing. The scene felt all too familiar. It was the same omen that had appeared when he first played Tower of Trials. Memories flooded back, and a chill ran down his spine as he realized that what had once been a game was now unfolding in reality. A status window opened before everyone, including Jinhyuk. The message read, Tower of Trials Reboot Version. The first update has been completed. All players must clear the next floor of the tower within 90 days. Failure to do so will result in the extinction of humanity. Panic erupted in the chat as the weight of the message sank in, and Jinhyuk's heart raced. This was no longer just a game, it was a dire challenge that could affect everyone. Just like that, the game had become a reality. Jinhyuk was momentarily confused, but he quickly gathered his thoughts. If the Tower of Trials had manifested into the real world, he couldn't afford to hesitate. He needed to act fast. Determined, Jinhyuk rose from his chair, which rattled beneath him and toppled over with a loud crash. A system message appeared, informing, the Tower of Trials Reboot Version has been successfully updated. The protagonist steadied his breath, reminding himself to stay focused and keep his composure. If the Tower of Trials had truly become a reality, he couldn't afford to waste any more time like this. In his mind, he knew exactly where to find a particular item he would need. There was no time to waste, he had to move quickly. Jinhyuk burst through the front door and sprinted down the road, his mind focused on the task ahead. Out of breath, Jinhyuk hurriedly crossed the road and descended the stairs, pushing himself to keep moving despite the exhaustion. In this new reality, where the world might end, Jinhyuk's heart pounded. Not from fear, but from sheer excitement. The scene shifts to the city center, where chaos has already erupted. Crowds of people are panicking, running in all directions. Some are desperately trying to find shelter, while others frantically check their phones. One person is seen struggling to book the fastest train to Busan, their hands shaking as they fumble with the app. Another man shouted above the chaos, "Fleeing to Busan won't be enough. We need to get out of Korea." His voice was filled with desperation. As he pushed through the crowd, his panic spreading to those around him. A nearby person held up a phone, displaying a live feed from a foreign country where the Tower of Trials had also appeared. The reality sank in. Towers were emerging all over the world, and no country was safe. "So where can we go?" she exclaimed, panic evident in her voice, as the crowd grew increasingly frantic. "No matter what happens, as long as it's not in Seoul," someone in the crowd shouted, clinging to a sliver of hope as fear washed over the masses. Amidst the chaos, Jinhyuk dashed toward a central underground mall, weaving through the panicked crowd as he focused on his destination. As Jinhyuk stood at the entrance of the underground mall, he reflected, most people are fleeing Seoul, driven by their instinctive fear of the unknown. Yet in every crisis lies an opportunity. This isn't a moment to run, it's a moment to push ahead. As he made his way down the staircase, Jinhyuk remembered that this area outside the tower had been designated as an external zone in the Korean server. In total, there were around 30 such zones scattered throughout the country. He chose this location because it was the nearest external zone available. As Jinhyuk entered the underground mall, a system message flashed before him, announcing that he was now entering an event zone. Jinhyuk squinted as he took in the sight of dozens of people clustered around the fountain. He knew without a doubt that these people were the ones who had played through the early stages of the Tower of Trials. Everyone present glared at one another in silence, tension thick in the air. The tension in the air was palpable, as the item set to appear was limited in quantity. "If we are fortunate, we might manage to secure at most 5. Someone called out from behind, asking, "Are you Jinhyuk Kang?" It was a voice Jinhyuk recognized from before. When Jinhyuk turned to look, he saw a tall man with dyed yellow hair. It was Lee Jung-soo. Lee Jung-soo confirmed it was indeed Jinhyuk Kang, his surprise evident. "I can't believe you're here. I thought you just spent all day locked up in your room playing Tower of Trials." He approached with a grin, clearly intrigued by the unexpected encounter. Lee Jung-soo was a partnered streamer on Pafrika TV, boasting 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. He was also the CEO of the company that Jinhyuk had once been a part of. Jinhyuk asked, "What are you doing here? Isn't it usually time for your live stream?" Jung-soo replied with a smile, "Right now, being here is far more exciting than live streaming." Jung-soo then asked Jinhyuk, "So, what floor did you reach in the Tower of Trials?" He continued, "We should uncover the secrets of the tower together. as former coworkers. Hearing Jung Soo refer to him as a former coworker infuriated Jin Hyuk. Jin Hyuk still remembered how Lee Jung Soo's company had tricked many streamers into signing slave contracts. The more the streamers broadcasted live, the more money they lost to Lee Jung Soo. If anyone attempted to protest, their voices were swiftly silenced by the company's lawyers. As a result of this fraud, Jin Hyuk Kang's best friend, someone he had known from the very beginning, was driven to leave the streaming industry in tears. Pulling Jin Hyuk's shoulder, Lee Jung Soo continued the conversation. "I know you're great at games," he said, "and on top of that, you do mukbang videos. What if we rewrote the contract to put you on better terms?" Disgusted by Jung Soo's words, Jin Hyuk, in a fit of anger, slammed his forehead into Jung Soo's face with such force that 2 of his teeth shattered, causing blood to pour from his mouth. "Don't talk to me so casually, Jung Soo," Jin Hyuk warned, his voice low and threatening. "We're not friends." Jin Hyuk felt a sense of satisfaction from putting Jung Soo in his place. After confronting Jung Soo, Jin Hyuk turned his attention to the fountain, recalling that it was almost time for the tree to appear. The scene shifted to the fountain, where bubbles began to form in the water. Suddenly, a powerful jet of water shot into the air, creating a dramatic spectacle. Trees began to emerge from the fountain, their roots breaking through the surface as they grew taller. In no time at all, a large tree rose before everyone, towering over the crowd. The crowd erupted in excitement at the sight of the massive mangrove tree, its vibrant leaves swaying gently in the air. Jin Hyuk felt a surge of happiness as he realized everything was unfolding just like it had in the Tower of Trials game. It was as if he were living in a dream, the lines between reality and the game blurring around him. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, declaring, "The mangrove of greed has emerged." The mangrove tree bore fruits that glistened in the light. The ripe ones had the ability to enhance strength, agility, stamina, and mana stats, each offering a unique boost to those who consumed them. This is a valuable item, there was no denying that. The problem, however, was that there were only 4 fruits available, and countless competitors eyeing for them. It was bound to be a tough battle. The ability to boost stats in the early stages was an advantage that could not be overlooked. Everyone rushed toward the tree, shouting, "The fruit is mine." Soon, the central underground shopping mall descended into chaos, with people climbing over one another and shoving others aside in their frantic quest for the prized fruits. In frustration, Lee Jung Soo tossed aside the bloodied napkin he had been using to wipe his face and cursed Jin Hyuk for not working together. "If we had teamed up, we could have split the fruits and both benefited. Now, neither of us is going to get anything to boost our stats." Jin Hyuk snapped at Lee Jung Soo to stop talking, clearly annoyed. "You don't know what you're talking about. Now is not the time to act and grab the fruit.